Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always up for an adventure in knowledge.
Well, today we're taking a trip back to the 80s and strapping ourselves into one of the most iconic cars of all time, the DeLorean DMC-12.
Ooh, this is going to be good. A car with a story as unique as its design.
That's what I love about these deep dives. You never know what twists and turns are waiting around the corner. So we're covering all the bases. And this deep dive isn't just about going over specs and performance figures. It's about uncovering the story behind this car, the ambition behind it, the design choices, the rise and fall, and of course, its unexpected journey to pop culture fame. So let's start at the beginning with John DeLorean himself. This wasn't just some guy with a garage and a dream.
Right. This was a top executive at General Motors.
Yeah, he was an industry rock star who walked away to build his dream car.
Which, says a lot about the kind of vision he had.
Exactly. He wanted a car that was ethical, safe, AD stylish, sort of a sports car with a conscience, as our sources describe it.
And he managed to attract some seriously big names to back him up.
Like Johnny Carson.
Can you imagine pitching your car company idea to Johnny Carson and getting him on board?
Yeah, it must have opened some doors for sure.
I'd say. That kind of celebrity endorsement would have brought a lot of attention, not to mention investment.
Speaking of attention, let's talk about the design of the DMC-12. DeLorean brought in Giorgetto Giugiaro, the man behind some legendary car designs, like the Lotus Esprit and the Ferrari 250 GT SWB Bertone.
Wow, yeah, some serious automotive royalty there.
What was he aiming for with the DeLorean's look, you think?
Well, if you look back at some of Giugiero's earlier work, there are hints of the DeLorean in a concept car he did called the Porsche Tapiro. That wedge shape, the futuristic feel, it's all there. But with the DeLorean, he really took those ideas to a whole new level.
You can't talk about the DeLorean without mentioning the unpainted stainless steel body.
Right, and those gull-wing doors.
Talk about a head-turner. There's a common misconception that those doors need tons of space to open.
Actually, that's not true at all. Giugiaro designed them to need less side clearance than regular doors.
Isn't that amazing?
It's a great example of form meeting function.
But, as with any ambitious project, the road to get there wasn't exactly smooth. DeLorean decided to set up manufacturing in Northern Ireland, a region with high unemployment at the time.
It was a bold move with a lot of potential benefits.
Definitely. They aimed to revitalize the area and provide much-needed jobs.
But, the workforce there didn't have a lot of experience building cars.
And that led to some quality control issues in those early production runs.
It's a classic case of good intentions meeting reality.
I was reading about these black cars they used during production.
Ah, yes. Those were called mules. DeLoreans with fiberglass bodies that were used for training purposes.
Really? So they weren't even made of stainless steel?
Nope. Just for practice runs, apparently.
That's a cool little detail that most people don't know about. Makes you wonder what else went on behind the scenes during those early days. Now, beyond the production challenges, there were some serious financial hurdles.
Right.
High production costs, the exchange rate working against them, and demand that wasn't quite meeting expectations.
It was a perfect storm of financial trouble.
And then there's the whole John DeLorean arrest situation. We'll try to remain impartial in the detail, but there's no denying it added fuel to the fire. Our sources mention missing millions of dollars.
And then there's this mysterious company called GPD that was linked to the car's engineering.
It's like something out of a spy movie, right? And on top of that, you've got the death of Colin Chapman, the founder of Lotus, who was rumored to have some inside information about the whole thing.
Now that's a story I'd love to hear more about.
Right. It just adds another layer of intrigue to this whole saga. Sadly, it all culminated in the company's bankruptcy in 1982. The factory shut down.
Leaving behind around 9,000 DeLoreans.
And get this, they even revinned some 1982 models and sold them as 1983s.
Really? Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, a sign of just how chaotic things were in those final days.
Yeah.
Now, you'd think that would be the end of the road for the DeLorean, right?
Yeah, a sad but predictable ending for a car company that faced so many challenges.
But that's where things take a turn. A turn involving a flux capacitor and a certain iconic movie franchise.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
That's right, we're about to step into the world of Back to the Future.
1985. The year Back to the Future hit the big screen.
and changed the DeLorean's destiny forever.
It's amazing how a movie about time travel could actually rewrite the future of a car.
Right. Who could have predicted that a car from a bankrupt company would become a pop culture icon?
Well, the DeLorean definitely had a certain coolness factor, even with its real-world performance limitations.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly known for its speed.
But the filmmakers saw its potential. They transformed it into this unforgettable time machine, complete with a flux capacitor, glowing lights, and of course, the need to hit 88 miles per hour to travel through time.
It's funny they actually had to modify the speedometer for the movie because the original DeLorean only went up to 85.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah. Real-world regulations don't really apply when you're breaking the space-time continuum, I guess.
Makes sense. So yeah, all those modifications, combined with the car's already unique look, just cemented the DeLorean as a symbol of 80s cool.
And that pop culture fame had a real impact.
Oh, absolutely.
The DeLorean became way more valuable than it ever was during its initial production run.
Our sources mention replicas fetching over $100,000 today.
Wow, that's incredible. And speaking of replicas, that brings us to Stephen Wynn and his company, DMC Texas. He started this whole effort to revive the DeLorean brand back in 1995.
Wynn saw an opportunity to use the remaining parts inventory to create refurbished DeLoreans, catering to a whole new generation of fans and collectors.
And he even secured the trademark for the DMC logo.
Smart move. Shows how the DeLorean brand still had, and continues to have, real staying power.
So DMC Texas was basically giving these DeLoreans a second life. And they didn't stop there. They had plans to produce replica DeLoreans under the Low-Volume Vehicle Manufacturing Act.
Oh, right. I remember hearing about that.
The idea was to make owning a DeLorean more accessible, right?
Exactly. It would have opened up the possibility for people who maybe couldn't afford a refurbished original.
Seemed like a great idea, but things didn't quite go as planned.
Unfortunately, no. The regulations from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration took much longer to finalize than expected, causing significant delays for the project.
Oh, that's too bad. I did read, though, that there have been talks about an electric DeLorean.
Now, that would be something else.
Right. The sleek, futuristic design of the DeLorean, but with zero emissions.
Talk about bringing the car into the future.
A blend of nostalgia and innovation. But as we've seen throughout this deep dive, the DeLorean story is full of unexpected twists and turns.
Absolutely. Ambition, innovation, failure, and then a resurgence fueled by pure pop culture magic. It really makes you think about the unpredictable nature of success and the lasting impact a single movie can have.
You know, it's true. But even beyond the Back to the Future phenomenon, the DeLorean story raises some interesting questions about what could have been. What if John DeLorean had gotten that funding he needed? Could the DeLorean have become more than just a pop culture icon? Could it have been a true contender in the automotive world?
It's a question that really makes you think.
Imagine if they had the resources to, iron out those early production issues.
Maybe even boost the engine power a bit, you know?
Yeah. Maybe those quality problems were just growing pains. With more time, financial stability, who knows what they could have achieved?
But then again, even with all its flaws, the DeLorean achieved a level of fame most cars can only dream of.
And it's kind of tied to its failure.
Yeah, that's Hollywood comeback.
It's like the DeLorean traveled through time, not just in the movie, but in real life.
Haha, yeah. Went from a symbol of, broken dreams to an 80s icon.
It makes you wonder if the DeLorean would hold the same place in our hearts if it hadn't faced those challenges.
Right, if it hadn't become synonymous with Back to the Future.
Yeah, who knows?
But what we do know is that the DeLorean story is one of a kind.
Definitely.
A story about ambition, innovation, and the unexpected turns that life and pop culture can take.
And hey, if you ever get the chance, I highly recommend checking out a DeLorean in person.
No, absolutely.
Maybe visit a car museum. Or if you're lucky, spot one out in the wild.
You might just find yourself inspired to learn more about its fascinating history.
Or the complexities of the car industry in general.
And the powerful way that pop culture shapes our world.
Is what we love about these deep dives,
What's
you know?
that?
Uncovering those hidden connections, exploring different perspectives, leaving you with something to ponder.
So until our next adventure in knowledge exploration, keep asking those questions.
Keep learning.
Remember, there's always more to uncover beneath the surface.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll all be cruising around in our own DeLoreans, just like Doc and Marty. Until then, keep diving deep.